Retailers, it is time to step out of the day-to-day of running your store and step into a new perspective. I would like to invite you to join me in Denver, Colorado at my conference, Evolve. This is built for independent retailers looking to transform their business. Retail is changing faster than we have ever seen before. So is marketing, and so are the tools to help us build our business. This conference is one of the best places for you to stay up to date and stay relevant. And it's super, super early bird pricing right now. So you can get a ticket for as low as $197. Go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve to secure your ticket. And I can't wait to see you in Denver and help transform and grow your store. Holy guacamole. If you are ready for a crash course in opening and operating multiple store locations, then you are going to absolutely love today's episode. My guest is the co-owner of Two Bostons, AdreAnne Tesene, and she is just pulling back the curtain and giving so much advice to our retailers. We are talking about location, operations, staffing, inventory, marketing. We cover so much in this 30-minute episode. It is incredible how much we got through. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this. There's a chance you're going to want to take some notes because AdreAnne lists a lot of great resources and just great tips and things that you can start implementing and working on right away. So even if you're not looking to open a second store location or open multiple locations, this episode you're still going to want to listen to because we talk about a lot of things that are foundational to the success of a store, things that you really want to make sure that you have in place no matter if you're going to open more locations or not. It will save you a lot of time and stress and hassle. I am just thrilled with this episode. Before we dive in, here's a little bit more about my guest. AdreAnne is the owner and visionary of Two Bostons, the store for happy pets with 7 retail locations in the Chicago suburbs. Started in 2005 with her husband, Andy, they had the dream of improving the lives of pets and their people through fun and education. Now with 7 stores and hundreds of thousands of pets' lives improved, Two Bostons is continuing to grow and have fun while supporting great team members, customers, communities, and rescue organizations. Her areas of expertise include marketing, social media, leadership, and envisioning possibilities. Her passions include her family, 2 cats, 2 dogs, 2 human kids, and 1 amazingly patient husband, her Two Bostons team, and supporting those around her. Two Bostons is locally and internationally known for great events, superb education, high standards, and engaging community involvement. You can learn more at twobostons.com. They're also Two Bostons on Facebook and Two Bostons Boutique on Instagram. All right, let's dive into this awesome episode. Welcome to Rooted in Retail, the show that's dedicated to helping independent retailers thrive in today's ever-evolving retail landscape. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me weekly as we explore topics that are vital to the success of your store. From marketing to mindset, money to merchandising, sales to leadership, we'll cover it all. Each episode features interviews with industry experts and accomplished retailers who share their real-life insights and actionable advice. Get ready for a great conversation on how to build your dream business with Rooted in Retail. AdreAnne, welcome to Rooted in Retail.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to speak with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited. We have so much to cover, so we're going to dive right in. Tell us, what made you open a pet store?
Well, the tried and true method of adopting 2 dogs and falling in love with them, right? So my husband and I adopted 2 Boston Terriers years ago, and they both had issues that we had to figure out. And at the time, there weren't stores like ours around. So we thought, you know what, if we're having all these questions, other pet parents have these questions. So let's help them kind of navigate the murky waters as well. So for better or for worse, it's worked out for us.
It really has. I love that you guys said yes to that and had that opportunity and that idea. Now, you have several store locations. Was that always the plan, or did you grow into that organically?
Completely organically. When we first started, we thought, you know what, as long as we can break even, cover our expenses, and love doing what we're doing, then we know that this is right. I mean, Andy was a chemical engineer. I was a speech pathologist. So we didn't have any, bad habits to break or any big ideas of retail. We just did what our customers needed. And then it grew into, we did what our team members, needed and wanted from us. So it was completely organic.
Beautiful. I love how that worked out. You have 7 store locations, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. I mean, we're not talking just one other location, like 7 locations. It's awesome. Okay. Take us through that journey. Can you share your journey and experiences in expanding and scaling to multiple locations?
Sure.
What were some of those key challenges you faced along the way? And then how did you overcome those?
Okay, so first of all, Crystal, when you say, oh my gosh, there's 7 stores. Well, I've got to tell you that the 7th store is way easier to open than the 2nd store. So, moving from 1 store to 2 stores, I truly believe is one of the biggest leaps that you can take in retail, because quite honestly, it is not just double the work. It is triple plus the work, because there's only one of you. Now, granted, we had 2 of us, both Andy and myself, but still, he stays in his lane and I stay in my lane. So, one of the big things when you do jump to that 2nd location, you find out really, really quickly where your holes are, where your weaknesses are. And then you have to figure out what type of people you need to surround yourself with. So I would say that was a big step in our journey so far. And it still happens, right?
Sure.
Every time you grow, your processes break and you figure out where you need help. Mm-hmm. So I think that if there's something that I can share with retailers, is that just be open to knowing where you need help and going with that.
It's such great advice, because there are so many things that you don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so you just have to be open and ready to accept that and figure it out. And then to your point, I mean, it makes sense. You've figured out so much along the way that with the 7th store, it's like, okay, we pretty much know what to expect here. But again, we're open.
Yes, absolutely. And, quite honestly, every time we think that we have it figured out, like, oh, well, we've done these build outs, so it's like a copy paste. No, there's something else that's going to kind of be thrown in there. And you just have to roll with it and figure it out. And, just kind of keep your eyes on what you can control. And the secret ingredient is continue to have fun with it.
Totally. I love that. I was actually listening to a podcast this morning about writing a book. And she's like, everybody said, don't write the book, or the book is so hard, or it's such a frustrating process. And she's like, I chose to say, this is going to be fun. And I was like, I think that we can apply that kind of mindset to business in general, to a lot of things that we do, instead of getting caught up in this is going to be hard. Retail is hard. Starting a retail store, expanding is hard, but we can also have that mindset of it could be fun.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about location. Operating multiple pet stores requires an understanding of the local market and competition. What criteria or factors did you consider when selecting new locations for your pet stores?
Hey, this is a great question, and super important to know what you're looking for and why you're looking for it, right? Gosh, there's so many different things to take into consideration, because if you don't have the right location, you're going to be having to spend more money in marketing, right? So I would much rather have an A+ location than to have to worry about chasing my tail, all the time and making sure that people can see us and know where we're at. So, we always take into consideration how far away is maybe a potential new location from our current stores. Where do our customers pull from? We like to know the income in the area, the average income, the median income, population. What does the traffic look like? What's the visibility, right, of the storefront? Who the neighbors are. You don't want to necessarily be in line with a lot of discount stores if that's not your brand. Right. We always like to be by a grocery store because, people have to come on a regular basis. We also like to take into consideration our current team members, maybe where are they living, but also our current customers, like I was saying. We just opened one store in hopes to pull some stress away from one of our other stores down the street. So there's always those different type of things to consider. But the other thing to consider is just the feel. Like when you go there and you sit in the parking lot for hours, like you probably should, right? Does it feel good? Does a smile come on your face when you pull into the parking lot, the shopping center, et cetera? What's the feel of it, and does it fit you?
Excellent advice. You got to do your research. So
Absolutely.
many different things to look at. You've got to do your research. And I think it was in episode 2 of Rooted in Retail when I was talking to Kathy Wagner. She talked about if your location is in a higher trafficked area, then your marketing budget tends to be lower because some of that marketing budget's going into the location. It's like built-in traffic. So
right. Yeah, Kathy knows what she's talking about.
All right, good. Okay, let's talk about operations. So how do you create consistent and effective operations across all your locations? Are there any specific management practices or systems that you found particularly helpful in running multiple locations?
So I love the fact that you're asking this question, because if you want to grow your business, you need to make sure that you keep up on this. And this is super, super solid. Don't even think about opening up additional locations until this is super solid. We realized that we needed help years ago and turned to whiz-bang training. They have such amazing processes and procedures where you can just plug and play. So the first time when we went to their Retail Success Summit, we came home, and as we were literally on our hands and knees building out the second store, we listened to the DVDs. They were on DVDs at the time, or CDs, I guess. And we were just absorbing all the information, and we took a lot of their pre-made forms. And we literally changed the name to Two Bostons at the top. That's how we got started, making sure that we were following a lot of good organizational habits. And then, probably about 15 years ago, we made the fantastic decision to get started with EOS, or Traction. So the Entrepreneurial Operating System, where it puts together like a whole cadence of meetings for you and really make sure that you are taking care of issues, and the most important issues, because Crystal, as you know, we all have thousands of things on our to-do list, right? But nothing's going to get done if you're focusing on all of them. You've got to focus on the absolute most important and get those done. So the EOS, or the Traction system, really helps us make sure that we're managing what needs managed.
I couldn't agree more with both of your resources. If you're a retailer right now and you've never heard of whiz-bang training, you've got to go over there. whizbangtraining.com. We're partners. We love them. And they'll make your retail life so much easier. Absolutely. And then same with Traction and EOS. I honestly don't know how, especially businesses your size, but as retailers are growing, you have to have that structure. You have to have these systems, those meetings in places, understanding how to coach your team and who's on the team and who's doing what. And I mean, it's critical to the success. So I love such great resources. Okay, we're moving into inventory now.
Okay.
All right. So managing inventory and supply chain logistics can become more complex with multiple store locations. How do you streamline your inventory management process?
Sure. It's so important to have an open to buy system in place, no matter if you have one store or 7 stores or, a couple dozen stores, for you to be able to know what's moving, what your turn rates are, what your budget is for each of your departments in your store. I don't think that you can run a successful business unless you do have that information. And then everyone needs to stick to those numbers, right? But you need to look at your inventory as real dollars, and looking at it as a return on your investment. So if I put $1 in here, how many dollars can I get back? I mean, it is your money. So you need to respect it and make it work for you. Another thing about inventory, as we've grown, and maybe Andy and I aren't on the sales floor as much as we once were, it doesn't matter if one of our favorite toys isn't selling as well now as it did, 10, 15 years ago. You've got to listen to your customers and listen to what they're voting on, and they're voting with their dollars, right? So to manage that inventory, you've really got to make sure that you're looking at it with eyes wide open and don't put the emotion into it. So a great source, as you most likely know, is Management One. If you can't do the open to buy yourself, I think Management One is a fantastic resource. And then obviously you've got to have, I shouldn't say obviously, but it's really important for us to have a cloud-based point of sale system so we can constantly be looking at the other locations' inventory. So if a customer needs something here, where can we get it from? And also we like to do transfers every once in a while just to balance out our inventory to make all of our stores a lot healthier. And you can do that much easier with a cloud-based system.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like that would be way easier. And if anybody's listening to this, I will link in the show notes to Dane Cohen's episode, which is he's with Management One. You can also search in the show notes there. Because you should really learn about open to buy. Like that is, I don't know how retailers operate without it. So right. Great advice. Great advice. All right. Now let's move into staffing. Okay. So in terms of staffing, what strategies do you employ to ensure you had the right team in place at each of your pet store locations? How did you maintain consistent employee training and communication?
Okay, this is a good one too. Core values. That is like the number one gold star standard, I guess I could say. You've got to know what your core values are. And you've got to stick to those, even when it's really, really tough with hiring, because to bring in someone who doesn't maintain or exhibit your core values genuinely, you're going to create a whole mess for yourself, for the rest of your team, for your customers. So you've got to respect the core values that you have. So staying true to that, and hiring for them, hiring, firing, rewarding, recognizing, all for your core values. Dave Ramsey, who I love, he says that don't let crazy into the building. Right? So if you stick with your core values and have a good hiring system and structure, you can create that hiring process that really attracts core values fits while repelling the crazy. And that's really important. Our whole hiring process ends with an interview with me at all levels, and it is strictly a core values interview. That's how important we take this. And then our team actually votes on the core values 90 days after they're hired. So cool. We take it that seriously. As far as training goes, this is really important. And this was a lesson that we learned years ago. Thank goodness we did. And we do our training. We've actually videotaped it. So I think Bob from Whizbang said to us probably 15, 16 years ago, if you don't have your training videotaped, you're losing out. Like, you've got to do this. So the very next person who we trained, Andy and I actually took turns like holding a video camera, and we just taped ourselves doing the training so that every time it's a little bit more professional now, but it worked. And I mean, they were one-shot wonders. There were mistakes. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's life. It happens when you're doing it live with someone. So don't let that make you feel uncomfortable or hesitate. Just get it done. So now when we hire people, we have about 50 to 60 hours worth of training that they go through before they're even put on the sales floor as a team member. So it's videotaped. We've got a book that goes with it so they can take notes. They need to answer questions. And then we have a role play book that the manager uses. So we're hitting every learning style from our team, and it's consistent. Because if we just let anyone and everyone do the training, it just wouldn't be as consistent. And we think that our customers deserve more than a half-trained team member helping them.
Yep.
Right? So we really want to respect that.
Totally. Well, and I have to say, I love so many things that you just said now. One being, don't make it perfect. The training is okay. If it's just like, I just have this picture of Andy with the camera record, like, I just love it. But done is better than perfect. You need to have this kind of training. So set your team up for success, right?
Absolutely.
And that consistency, which is a question of mine a little bit later about the customer experience. How do you maintain this consistent customer experience? And I feel like part of that has to, across all 7 locations, like it has to come from the consistent training that everybody's done, the 50 to 60 hours, they all match the core values. Like that's how you're really going to create that consistency. It's critical to the success, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good place to start with the consistent customer experience, right? But then there's more that has to happen afterwards, right? And so we actually have something put in place called the perfect purchase approach. And we learned this through, I want to say, Strategic Coach. And so we've kind of created a process that is more to Boston's process. But our team knows, like, what are the steps to that perfect purchase? What does that perfect purchase look like? Well, here's a tip. It looks different for each person, but there are still the same steps that you need to go through to make sure you're hitting everything. So, our managers know that their number one priority is coaching the team members. They, have certain coaching units that they need to do every week with each team member. The team member has, hourly trackers and scorecards, and there's coaching on the floor. There's weekly one-on-one meetings. There's daily take 5s where you're setting them up for success. We've got the daily performance summary where they're filling it out at the end of the day. Every team member knows what their average sale was, what their transactions looked like, how many thank you notes, did they send out, handwritten thank you notes. They're tracking all of that stuff because it's only kind for them to know what success looks like. But they're in charge of bringing all that information to their managers every week and saying, this is how my week went. This is how I did. This is where I need a little bit of help, because we're there to serve, our team members. Our managers are there to serve our team members. We're here to serve our managers. So it goes like that at every level.
Talk about accountability. I mean,
yes.
Wow. And I think that our employees want that accountability. They want
Absolutely.
that structure. I think it gets really messy in the gray, and that's when problems happen. And
Absolutely.
So the fact that you have that so dialed out, I absolutely love that. You mentioned, I think it was Take 5, that daily Take 5. What is that?
Okay, so this is something that we learned from Doug Fleener. And, if picture being in a warehouse situation where everyone comes and starts their shifts at the same time. And you can have a quick 5-minute powwow about these are the goals for the day. And this is maybe something that we're low on. And this is where we need to improve. And by the way, let's have a great day. Let's get started. It's that type of idea, but in written form. So, it's something to instruct, like, this is what we need to focus on today. Maybe this is how our sales were yesterday. This is what our sales goal is today. We always end up with inspiration, like whether it's a quote or kind of a funny, meme, that type of thing. And it's just a way for the managers to get the team all on the same page. It's maybe a place to let them know, we've got a big shipment coming in today, or by the way, we decided to run this special. Here are the details you need to know, that type of thing. So it's one of the ways to set your team up for success and let them know, what's happening. So yeah, Doug Fleener is a great resource as well.
That is awesome. I absolutely love that. You got to row in the same direction. I mean, and that has to happen every day. Like, yes. Little things can happen daily. And if you don't have that set up, I can see the bus going, what do they say? The bus goes off the wheels or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But, Crystal, I want to make sure that the listeners understand that these are all things that we've put into place over the last 20 years. This isn't something that we started with. We learned to do these things because we knew we needed to put something in place. So if you don't have any of these things put in place, it is okay. It's completely okay. But what's not okay is to continue to not have these things into place. So just start with one thing implement one thing, be super consistent with it. And then when you and your team feel really good about that one thing, then add something else and get really, really good at that.
Such great advice, because we can feel really overwhelmed, like, oh, I'm not doing any of those things, so I feel really behind, and she has it all figured out. I feel like I could never get to that place. You started somewhere. We're all starting somewhere. You just have to get started.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, so good. All right. So, let's talk about marketing. One of my favorite topics,
Yes.
as you know. So it plays a crucial role in attracting customers to any retail business. Can you share some insight on how you effectively marketed and promoted your stores across the different locations? Is there anything that specifically worked better than other things?
Sure. So one thing that we did from the get-go, and I don't even know if we knew that it was going to be this important in our whole marketing game, was from day one, we started collecting emails. So we love to collect emails, the person's birthday, the dog or cat's birthday, that kind of stuff, basic information, so that we can communicate with them. Because as we all know, it's much easier to keep customers than to always get new ones, right? So I have culled the list, but still weekly, I still send out weekly emails to about 30,000 people. That is one of the best ways to communicate with them. And as you know, people will open it if you have good information. If you're just sending out garbage, that's when they're going to get frustrated and want to unsubscribe. So just be aware of that. Like, what do your customers want? Ask them and then give them that information. So I think that that's one of the best things to do, in my opinion. But one thing that I think a lot of people look over when we're talking about marketing is the importance of the customer experience in your stores. Because that can be a huge hole in the boat, right? If you can have the best marketing ever, but if people then come in the store and don't get that experience that you promised them, they're not going to come back. And so you're just losing people out the back end left and right. And you should be able to track that by watching your customer numbers grow. So if it's not right, a marketing tactic isn't going to help at all. So.
It's such a good point. We can get really caught up in the marketing, driving the traffic, getting out there. I want to go viral. I want a lot of people seeing my videos. Yeah. I want all the things. But I mean, none of it matters. You're going to waste your time and money if you're advertising on people coming in and the experience is completely off. So Absolutely. Yeah, don't forget about that experience, you guys.
And quite honestly, I always feel that our team members are one of the best marketing sources that we can have. So I can put out, on any channel that we're having this huge event coming up. But if my team members get behind it and are excited talking about it, that is like the best form of marketing that I could ever ask for. So I always try to coach them. It's not even what you say, but it's how you say it. If you're saying it with a smile on your face and you're excited, that's what matters.
Absolutely. Yeah. Make the invitation. Talk about, totally. I love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Now, if somebody's listening to this and they have a single store, what advice would you have for them if they've been playing with the idea of expanding and opening another location?
Okay. Okay. So I guess I would say, make sure you're ready. Make sure your home life is like stable enough, because it's going to take some energy, right? We have 2 human kids at home too. I have to say human because a lot of people call their dogs their kids, which we've got plenty of those as well. But we've got 2 human kids at home. So if things are crazy, why would it make sense, to grow? So make sure that your home life is good. And then also making sure that your current team is ready to grow. And then if you're going to take that leap, I think that is great. I'm behind you for sure. But just know that things are going to break and it's okay. You can patch them back up. Your processes that are good for 1 store are not going to be good for 2 stores. And that's okay. You just need to be aware of that when you're jumping into the situation, because you can't be everywhere all at once.
Nope. Such good advice. Yeah, you have to have some grace in that process for sure. So good.
Absolutely.
AdreAnne, are you ready for the resilience round?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Best business book.
$6,000 Egg by Deb and Todd Duncan.
Oh my gosh, never heard of that one. Okay.
It's a little book, but you see how many Post-it notes I have in there?
Tons. Yeah, if you're listening to this, there was a ton of Post-its in this book that she just showed. I love it.
It's a little book.
Yeah, it's a little book. Okay, awesome. Okay, best retail technology, like an app or software?
Canva Pro, hands down. Use it every day.
Yes, yes. How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
Working with great partners. I know you did not ask me to say this, but working with people like Crystal Media and Whizbang and other business coaches, that's how you keep up with everything, because you need to be able to lean on people who can bring new issues to the table and new information.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with all aspects of it. There's so many things. Yeah. How do you, because retail is ever changing, how do you recharge your batteries?
I'm terrible at this. Honestly, that is one thing that I need to still learn. I know that it's important. I know that rest is medicine for the mind, but I am just in a season in my life that I just don't do it. But by you asking me this question, it has brought to light that this is an issue that I have that I need to help solve.
I love your honesty. Thank you. You know, there are so people listening to this right now being like, thank you. I'm right there with you, you know? Yeah. Awesome. Well, I do hope that you find something that can help recharge those batteries. Yeah.
You'll have to hold me accountable.
Okay. That sounds good. I'll check in on you. To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's a retail foundational best practice?
Ask for help and reach out to those people who are better than you are. Learn from them. Be open to what they say.
Beautiful. And finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
So I think that it looks fantastic, but only if you're willing to not be mediocre. People can buy what you sell everywhere, but what they're going to do is they're going to come back because of that experience and those relationships. So there's no room to be mediocre. You've got to be absolutely fantastic.
Great advice. AdreAnne, how can people find more about you?
Oh, sure. Well, twobostons.com is our website. On social, Facebook is Two Bostons Boutique, or Instagram is Two Bostons. So lots of fun places. We like to do silly videos, and obviously we're learning a lot from Crystal Media and making sure that we keep up to date on all those trends.
Oh, love it. We'll link to everything as well in the show notes. AdreAnne, I love this conversation. You just gave so much information in a quick amount of time. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Crystal. It was fun.
Awesome. Everybody, remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. If you're tired of your social media creating little to no results, or you feel like your content has just gotten stale or maybe even boring, I have a brand new free training for you. It's called the Social Media Hooks and Hacks: How to Save Time and Stand Out. This training is going to help you capture your customers' attention from the very beginning, get them to stop the scroll, engage, and act. You're going to stand out from the competition with branded, unique content. It's time to save time and connect with customers like never before with this 80-minute training. You can get it at crystalmediaco.com/hooks, HOOKS, hooks. Don't delay. Watch this training. It's going to transform your content. You're going to love it. Enjoy. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know, sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.